What's going on, y'all? How y'all doing? This is Jared from the Land Your Legends podcast, giving you another episode with news and interviews. Today on the show, we have an interesting interviewee. His name is Dr. Russell Ledet. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Appreciate you doing the show. What's very interesting about this, I don't know him at all, but he is from the city of New Orleans. I just was just going through social media feeds, and I came across this article from security guard to doctor, and I was like, what? What? Ain't he from Louisiana? So I had to read the article, and I was intrigued by the story, so I just had to hit him up on Facebook and see if he could do the show. And he said he could do it next week, and I was like, oh yeah, let's do it. So appreciate you getting on so quickly. You're a very busy man. So please introduce yourself to my listeners and subscribers. Give a little brief bio about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Dr. Russell J. Ledet. I'm originally from Lake Charles, Louisiana, and I have a really winding road to how I got into medicine and how I ended up at Baton Rouge General Hospital.
All right. So let's take it back a notch, because you got like a wild career story. So I saw that you started off in the military. Did you start off in the military first, right after high school?
Yeah, I started out in the military. Yeah, man. So I started off. I ain't really got much of an option. You know, I never really thought going to college was an option because I thought, honestly, only rich people go to college. So with that being the case,
wow,
you know, I kind of did the next best thing, which was I was like, yo, I did really good on the ASVAB. I'm going to the military. Which in actuality, in hindsight, was amazing because it started to teach me the concept of resilience and perpetual tenacity, and also just an idea that you have a goal and then you got to work for that goal. It's not just going to come to you just because you say it or you want it to happen. You're going to have to work. So I went to the Navy. And all in all, I spent about 9.5 years in the Navy. But my first duty station was at the United States Navy Ceremonial Guard, which most people know is the people you see on TV with these pristine uniforms on, either doing a funeral in our international cemetery or standing still for hours for these, big events for heads of states and, these very important people. And so I did that, and that was my first exposure to really important people, or maybe I should say very career-oriented, successful people. And they kind of gave me some tips that I've always used as tenets to get to where I'm at, which is, never ask for permission, only ask for forgiveness. So go ahead and do what you think you're capable of doing. And so after that, I ended up going to cryptology school in Pensacola, Florida. Then I left Pensacola, Florida. My wife and I ended up moving to Jacksonville, Florida, and I ended up on a ship. And then I was deploying back and forth aboard ship. And then my wife was like, "Nah, you got to find something else to do with your life because we can't build a family with you acting like that." Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you was in Jacksonville. You was out there. That's when you became a security guard, or you became a security guard when you came back to Louisiana?
Nah, so I was a security guard when I came back to Louisiana.
Okay.
So after, as I was finishing up at my active duty, which was, I had a 5-year obligation initially, right? And my 5-year obligation initially, towards the end of it, my wife was like, "You got to find something else to do." Because you can't just keep going back and forth. We're trying to build a family. You go in 2 weeks, you go in 6 months, you go in 9 months. Nah, find something else to do. And I think you're smart enough to go to college. And although I was hesitant, I believed her. I was kind of like, all right, let's give it a shot. So she helped me to apply to Southern University. And I got in. And once I got in, we bought our first house here in Baton Rouge. And when we bought that house in Baton Rouge, I stayed on in the Navy Reserves. But the problem with the reserves is that you don't get paid that much money. So I had to get another job. And then I was like, I got a military background, so why not go into security? I applied for the job at Baton Rouge General, and I interviewed and I got it. And it wasn't really about, oh, I wanted to go into security, or oh, I wanted to be in a hospital. It was like, I got a mortgage, and I got a wife, and I got a newborn on the way, and I got to pay some bills. So I need to go get a job. Right. But I also need to think about what's the long term. So the long term was, at least I got to get a college degree. And I didn't go into college thinking I was going to be a doctor. I went into college thinking I was going to become a social worker, because I grew up on food stamps. So, I grew up on food stamps, and the first person you encounter when you're in food stamps is a social worker. So I was like, I'm going to go back to my neighborhood and do some good, just like they did. They helped out when we needed some money to get food. So, but then I sat in on a chemistry class, and I'll never forget it. I was sitting in on this class, and I was taking this general chemistry class, just like everyone else does, no matter what your major is. And, I was sitting there like answering questions without a calculator, and, memorizing the periodic table. And the teacher was like, "What are you majoring in?" And I was like, "Social work." And she was like, "No." She like, "Nah." She like, "Find something else to do." She's like, "Have you ever thought about science?" I was like, "No, I ain't never met a black scientist, so I would sit up here and major in science." So she introduced me to this guy named Dr. Wesley Gray. And Dr. Wesley Gray is like one of our biggest mentors, man. It's like a big brother to me. He also played Sigma, so go mob, but he kind of helped me to understand that I was capable of doing a lot, man. So I ended up deciding to switch my major to chemistry and biology, because I was like, it's kind of hard to understand biology if you don't understand chemistry, because chemistry is the best biology. So I was like, why not double major? And I'm not paying for it, so it really doesn't matter. So I did, and doing that gave me some experiences in research and things of that nature. And, once all that started happening, I started getting these really prestigious scholarships. Like I got one to go to LSU to do some research. And that research was about developing molecules for earlier detection of colorectal cancer. So I started, learning how to build drug molecules. And then I went off. Then one summer, I ended up going off to Merck Pharmaceuticals in Boston, Massachusetts. And there I was working on treating asthma attacks. And so, all these opportunities, and exposures to research helped me to understand that I was capable of becoming a scientist. Then I met the dean of NYU School of Medicine Graduate School. And he was like, "You could come get a PhD at NYU." And I was like, "Bro, what?" And he was like, "Yeah, you could come get a PhD at NYU." I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "You could come get a PhD at NYU." So I applied to NYU, and I got in, and that just changed the game. It's just like, this is crazy.
So you got a free ride to in New York University.
I got a free ride all the way through my MD, bro.
That's what's up.
I ain't paid for no education, man.
So you got that through grants and your military GI program?
Nah, I've been on scholarships ever since.
You did all scholarships?
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah. Okay. So you went to what you got your PhD in?
Molecular oncology and tumor immunology.
Okay. Can you explain what it is?
Yeah, man. So it's crazy because every time I say to people like, "Oh, all right, bro. All right, that sounds smart." Like it sounds like I mean, I guess it's kind of complicated, but basically the idea is that, so the research that I did was looking at how proteins are modified in prostate cancer to help prostate cancer to progress to more aggressive states. Right. So, and then how can we identify those, the proteins that are being modified, and can we use those as targets for drugs?
Okay.
So that was essentially that's like the crux of what I had going on. It's kind of more complicated than that, but in layman terms, that's what was going on. And the problem with getting a PhD a lot of times is you don't know how to treat a patient. So a lot about prostate cancer. I mean, like I knew a lot about prostate cancer, but I didn't know how to treat a patient. I didn't have the first clue on how to treat a patient, which is kind of crazy, right? You would think somebody knows about prostate cancer. Oh, if they get a patient, they know what to do. Nah, you just know a lot about the science of prostate cancer, but you don't know what the side effects are. You don't know what a radical prostatectomy is. You have no idea about therapy. You just don't know because you don't have that medical context. You have a scientific context. And that's what made me very uncomfortable at the end of my PhD, was the idea that, like, bruh, I have this PhD, but I can't treat a patient, and I don't have a context for how a patient feels after treatment or before treatment or any of that. So essentially, that left me in a place where I felt uncomfortable about it, uncertain about it, and I was like, yo, I think med school is the next stop. And with med school being the next stop, I applied. I got interviews at 6 places, and I got acceptances at 6 places. And I was teeter-tottering between Weill Cornell Medical School in New York City and and Tulane University in New Orleans, because my heart was in New Orleans. My heart was in Louisiana, but my mind was like, from a career perspective, I'm gonna be set if I go to an Ivy League.
Right.
That's in hindsight, that wasn't true at all. Like, I don't think it matters that much, or at least it doesn't matter that much for me. I don't think it mattered that much for me, because I think the most important thing I've ever done is make a decision to come to Louisiana and treat Louisiana patients. That's like the most important decision I've ever made in my life. Because I think, the problem a lot of times with what's going on in Louisiana is people leave Louisiana a lot of times and none of them want to come back. And a lot of those people who leave are very talented, and they're able and capable of fixing a lot of the issues that we have here, or contributing to those problems being lessened. But they just complain from afar. And it's like, what's the point of you complaining about it if you're not helping the problem? You could come back and use your talents here, or you could complain about it from afar.
Right.
And the reality of it is that a lot of your family members are still here. A lot of your friends are still here. And you would be better served serving those people than you would be wherever you are. But I'm not knocking people's choices. I just understand, for me personally, I had to have a conviction that the people of Louisiana were important to me, and they still are. Like, they really are, and that's why I'm here.
Right. Me and my wife had to have a conversation about that as well.
Yeah.
So we decided to come back after she finished her residency from Mississippi, and come back to the city. I was joyous. I was happy because I wanted back to Louisiana. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's home.
Yeah, it's home. It's home. And if I'm gonna make an impact, I'm gonna make an impact where I'm from. Like,
exactly.
I'm gonna deal with these people how they are. I'm gonna do all that, but I'm gonna do it where I'm from. Exactly. And that's really where I'm at.
Okay. All right. So you got your PhD. So you're working at, I'm sorry, I'm going out of timeline. So you was working as a security guard before you became PhD?
Mm-hmm. So I was working as a security guard the whole time I was at Southern.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about you.
While I was go ahead.
All right. I said, let's talk about you. First, what did you graduate from Southern University? What you got your degree in from Southern?
in chemistry and biology. I was a double major in
Double
chemistry
major,
and biology.
right?
So everywhere I done went, I done got at least 2 degrees. When I went to Southern, I got a chemistry and biology degree. When I went to NYU, I got a master's and a PhD. And now I'm at Tulane, and I'm getting an MD and an MBA. Because I'm like, I might as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Right, exactly. I mean, you've been doing everywhere else you went, so why not, huh?
Why not? Get it done. And it's been working. So.
That's what's up. Yeah. Southern University in my blood. My mom and pops went to Southern University.
There you go.
Go Jags. So, so you graduate from Southern University, then you start working as security guard at Baton Rouge General Hospital. That's correct?
Nah, I was simultaneously working at Baton Rouge General while I went to Southern University.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Full time. So my schedule generally was wake up at 7 a.m., get to school by 8, go to school from 8 to 3:15, drive to Baton Rouge General, which was like 20 minutes away, and then work from 4 to midnight, and then go home. That was the schedule.
Man, you was Hey, I understand the hustle, man. I worked like 2-3 jobs during college, so I understand the grind.
There you go. You go get it, man. You got to go get it.
Yeah,
and I was doing that full time. And then on the weekends, what I would do on Fridays when I had to go to the reserves, I would work. So I go to school in the morning. I get off at 3:15, go to work from 4 to midnight, and then drive from Baton Rouge to Pensacola and get to work for 8 in the morning. Work all day, go to bed, wake up in the morning, work on Sunday, and then drive back to Baton Rouge in time for school on Monday.
Man, you was getting it. My goodness.
Mm-hmm. I was out there. Out there.
So how long did it take you to finish from Southern University?
4 years. I graduated in 4 years on time. Yeah,
on time. Double major.
I was averaging 20 to 21 hours a semester.
Okay.
But, I mean, you get it how you live. You know, you don't get it or you right.
All right. So let's talk about your experience in when you're working at the hospital security guard. And tell the people your interaction when you was talking to the physicians, when you seeking some assistance, mentorship.
As expected, man. I understand, bro. I don't. So, my interaction with a lot of the physicians was, trying to get their attention, but maybe they were in a rush, or some of them weren't in a rush, and they just straight up be like, "You're not gonna be a physician." And I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with you thinking that I'm not gonna be something that I think I will be, because I think it's about me proving you wrong, and I think it's also about you learning that underestimating people it's a learning process for both of us. I gotta learn how to prove you wrong and prove myself right, and you gotta learn how to stop underestimating people based on where they are. But I had some people who gave me a chance, man. Dr. Patrick Greifenstein, he gave me a chance, man. He was a chief resident who was a surgeon. He came in one night. I was working in the ER as a security guard, and he needed an escort to get to the OR. He was coming through the ER, and the OR was kind of like on the other side of the hospital. So I just so happened to be the person who was escorting him. And as I was escorting him, I looked down at him and I was like, yo, because he's shorter than me. And I was like, yo, you really a surgeon? He was like, yeah. And I was like, all right, well, can I shadow you? And he looked at me, he was like, yeah, why not? And I was like, bet. I was like, it's on. I got an opportunity, baby. Because my thing was, I'm not gonna stop asking. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna keep asking. Eventually, somebody gonna say yes.
Right. How many physicians did you ask before you asked him?
Too many.
Too many.
Too many. It shouldn't have took that long. Or some of them would be like, yeah. I'm gonna make sure I give you my email whenever I come back, and then they either never come back or they take a different route to get back to their car or whatever. Or it's whatever. I don't really, I understand why that part of the story is captivating, but to be candid with you, I appreciate naysayers. I wrote this quote a while back that, there are people who will ignore you along your journey. Let them. Let them. They playing their role. They have a role to play. Let them play their role. Let them do what they were designed to do. You know, and the people who's supposed to help you, they're gonna help you. God got you. He ain't just let you fall. You're gonna be all right. You know, you can't worry about nothing. Can't strain. My mama used to tell me, you either gonna pray and not worry, or don't worry about praying. You know, so that's kind of the way, you know, I've kind of thought about it. Is I can't stress myself too much about the people who don't think I can become something. It's cool. It's all right. We'll figure it out. We'll see. We shall see. At some point, somebody gonna have to pay the piper. It's either gonna be me, and I'm gonna bite the bullet and be like, "You was right," or it's gonna be you, and you gonna be like, "Bro, what?" Because I mean, you know, now I'm getting all this publicity, right, for this story.
Let's talk.
I know they see it,
right? So let's talk about that, the publicity. I'll talk about it later, but we can bring it up since you brought it up. So can you please let the people know how many articles, what TV shows you've been on, so they can know how much of a superstar you really are? And I didn't even realize that until I started talking to you before the show. So yeah, let people know.
Yeah, man. I mean, I done been featured by Washington Post. I done been on TV with CNN, with Brooke Baldwin, MSNBC. Kelly Clarkson flew us all the way out to LA. BBC. It was just like an international article. NPR. That was a point where we were trending #1 on NPR. We done been highlighted on Reddit. The Times. We were on the front page of the New Orleans Times Picayune. We done been everywhere, man. I'm right now. I'm actually filming for the NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. I have some perspectives for the Today Show. BET has highlighted me before. BET actually highlighted me today. People Magazine. I don't know. I'm sure I'm missing somebody, but yeah, I don't think I can name too many outlets that I haven't spoken with or something.
Okay. All right. That's cool. So what was the first one? Who was the first people to reach out to you?
Ooh, way back in December, the very first people to reach out to me. Oh, Vogue. I can't forget Vogue. Vogue was huge. Very first people we ever talked to, and I say we because we also got the 15 white coats thing going on. It's like I've been going through this since December of last year. I've been talking to the media since December of last year on a daily basis for like, what month are we in? Our 8th month? Yeah, this has been a year of media for me. Let's see. People Magazine. People Magazine were the first people. And People Magazine always done justice by us, man. Yahoo. I forgot about Yahoo. MSNBC. MSN. Google.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, man. You've been all around. So you see, you might as well go back to school, get a degree in journalism.
Nah, I'm not doing no more school. I'm done with school. If I don't have enough education at this point, I'll never have enough education.
All right. Cool. All right. So you asked. So let's go back to your story. So you asked the physician, can he shadow you? And what goes on shadowing a physician? You hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay. I don't know what was going on.
Okay. Yeah, I was asking what happens when you shadow a physician. You already asked the question to the physician. He said yes. So what happens when you start shadowing a physician?
Yeah, man. So when I asked Patrick, and he was like, yeah. Like a week later, we went to sign the paperwork for me to get into the OR with him. So I got to go into the OR with him, and I got to shadow him, which means that Shadowing is like when you like, you know, kind of watch a doctor do what they do. You don't really do much. You just watch and ask questions and stuff like that. First surgery was a mastectomy, which basically means that you take off a breast. Mainly, this is done because of and the person who was the attending, which like the senior doctor, was Dr. Peter Bostic, which is like this really well-known surgical oncologist. So that was the first time, man. And then it's crazy because I recently went to the OR with Dr. Glenn Schwartzberg at Baton Rouge General Hospital as well. And this time I got to get my hands dirty. And it was a whole different ball game because it was like a dream come true, man. You know, it was like, dang, bruh, you really out here doing this in Louisiana. Like, you know, for me, it was kind of like, but people where I'm from don't get to do this, you know, and to be able to do it is just kind of like mind blowing. It really is. It still is. You know, I'm on peds there, now I'm on pediatrics now, and I'm just like, bro, this is wow. What kind of story did God come up when he made this one? It's kind of one of those once in a lifetime type joints, you know. So.
Okay, that's what's up. So, so you shadowing the physician. You're doing a couple of surgeries, a few surgeries. So, how did you get into Tulane Medical School and the MBA program at Tulane? Go Green Wave, because I'm alumni.
The Tulane acceptance was just like, so all med school interviews for the most part are similar in that you go there. Well, first you have to submit this application. It costs like a lot of money to apply to med school.
Yes,
it costs like thousands of dollars. Like people don't know that. It costs like thousands of dollars to apply to med school. Like people are like, oh, just apply to med school. It's like you got a couple $1,000 I can borrow. You know, so it's a really expensive process, man. I don't think a lot of people know that.
Right, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, man, but it's a really expensive process, and so I got some help from some people at NYU to help me. But I applied through the MCAT system just like everyone else, and I got some interview. Actually, Tulane University was the first school to give me an interview invite. It was like July 12th, 2018. Or maybe 2017. Yeah. Nope, 2017. Because I started in 2018.
You can tell people with the MCAT. What's MCAT?
Yeah, I took the MCAT. Yeah, I took the MCAT, which is the medical college admissions test. And I did okay. I did my part.
Can you tell them how long that exam is?
Oh my God, it's 8 hours, man. It's an 8-hour exam, and the MCAT is an 8-hour beast. It's just like, but you know what though? In hindsight, the MCAT isn't that bad compared to what we're doing now. This is way worse.
Yeah, residency a whole different ball game.
Yeah, man. You know, don't ever underestimate the amount of information that a doctor has to learn. It is a lot. I mean, you know, it's a lot. Yeah. It's a whole lot. You know, there was a point when I remember when I was getting my PhD, my wife used to complain about how many books we had in the house. And then one day during medical school, I was doing her hair because I've been doing my wife's hair for like 10 years. She was like, no, I asked her, I was like, hey, I got a surgery show coming up. Can you help me study while I'm doing your hair? Because it'll take me like 3 hours to do your hair. So she was like, all right, I'm going to help you. Yeah, I got it. I was like, all right, well, open the book and start reading me some of the stuff in there. She got like a page in and was like, oh, no. She was like, oh, no. She was like, what is this stuff? She was like, y'all need to know all of this. She was like, oh, she's like, I'm never going to complain about how many books we have in the house anymore. So, you know, you go through that process. It's funny in hindsight, man. But at the time, now my wife is like, nah, it don't matter how many books you have in the house. Just do you, because it's way over my head now.
Yeah, I used to help my wife study during medical school, so I know. I was like, man, you got to study all this? You got to read all this? I mean, she was studying like all day like a job.
Yeah, it is a job. That's the problem.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, just study.
You know. Yeah, man. So, the medical school process was, so you finish this AMCAS process, you take the MCAT, you get these letters of recommendation, you submit it to all these schools, you write secondary letters, and then you get invites. Then you gotta fly there. So you don't just do a interview over Skype or Zoom, which would have made sense then and obviously makes sense now because of this pandemic. Sad that it took a pandemic for us to realize that you can save a lot of people money by just letting them do an interview over Zoom. But so I did that. I flew out to, where did I interview? I interviewed at LSU New Orleans, LSU Shreveport, Tulane, Rutgers, NJMS, which is New Jersey Medical School, Mount Sinai, and Weill Cornell Medical School. And I got into every last one of them. I still have the letters. I keep them with me. And I keep them with me to remind me that I was capable then and I'm capable now. You got to have some reminders like that around, and I also want to show them to my kids, to leave it for them as a source of inspiration, because I came from and got there. And you silver spooning it now. Like, right. You should be all right. You should be straight. So, okay. That's it, man. And then I ended up deciding on Tulane. So my second daughter was born on February 20th. I think at around like 10 something Eastern Standard Time. I got an email that same morning from Tulane telling me we have a full ride scholarship waiting on you. So you can come here if you want, and you don't have to pay for it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I looked at my wife. She was, how it is right after they have a baby. She's tired. And I was like, honey, don't worry, we're going home. She was so happy, man. She was just like, what a day. Got a newborn baby, and we're going home. Because, I had 5 acceptances in my hand. Actually, I had 6 acceptances by the time we had the baby. And, we was trying to decide where was the best place for us to go. I love Mount Sinai, but I also loved Cornell. I loved Weill Cornell, but I loved Tulane. So it was like, where am I going to go? And I ended up going where I'm supposed to go, which is Tulane. You can't Whitney Plantation photo without Tulane. Okay. I had to be at Tulane in order to do that.
That's what's up. All right. So you got your acceptance letter. You decided to go to Tulane Medical School. So can you tell us how it is that first year of medical school? I already know the
answer. That first year of med school is the most questionable year of your life, man. Because you still trying to figure out, can you cut it? Are you good enough? Do you have what it takes? And what made it tougher is we had 2 kids. We had a newborn and an 8-year-old, a 7-year-old at the time. Actually, she was 7. Yeah, we had a 7-year-old and a newborn. I was like, what are we doing? Like, what is going on? But we were figuring out. I wanted to be gung ho as usual, and I went run for class president. So I was class president, a first year MD MBA student with a newborn at home, like an idiot. Like, I was just out of it.
You the man.
But just like I did at Southern, I was just doing the most. I was like, whatever, I'm gonna keep doing it. It's gonna work. We're gonna make it happen. And it worked. I'm still here. They ain't kicked me out yet. So that was the move, man. And that's how I got to here. First year med school was challenging, man, but it was good.
Okay.
It was good.
So,
Helped me to understand who I needed to be cool with and who was kind of whack. Which means a lot in med school. That's a lot.
Right. So so not right now you in your third year, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Can you tell the people all right, can you tell your people your discipline or disciplines, I should say?
Yeah, so I just finished surgery and I'm on pediatrics. Bruh, life is hell. But you know what though? It's fun hell. You know, like, and I guess it's compounded fun hell now because of all this, attention. Because it makes it tough. Like I was up at 5 o'clock this morning for a radio interview in California. And then I had like news interviews throughout the day. And then, now I'm on here and I still got to study after this, which is cool. It's fun. I mean, who's going to be able to say they went through med school and had, all this stuff going on? It's kind of rare, but it's fun, and although it is tiring and surgery was definitely tiring, P's is a little bit lighter. I'll be honest, today, I think I might have worked 45 minutes to an hour total. There are days that will be heavier. Don't worry, viewers. There are days that are heavier. But today was a light one. Okay. And I'm grateful.
All right. So can you talk about your 15 white coats?
Yeah, man. So the 15 white coats.
I'm about to pull a picture of
it. Okay. Yeah, the 15 white coats is an organization that I co-founded with some of my other colleagues over at Tulane University Medical School after photos went viral. So there's this photo that we took 15 Black medical students in front of some slave quarters at the Whitney Plantation. Right. So the idea behind that was that previous summer, so summer 2019, my daughter and my best friend who was getting his PhD with me at Tulane, at NYU School of Medicine. He also went to an HBCU. Shout out to North Carolina A&T. He came down to visit me. And so, when you go to an HBCU, Black history is like extra important.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like you get it ingrained and you get the truth. So, everybody don't get that. But when you go to an HBCU, oh, you gonna get it. Oh, you gonna get it. And I'm grateful for it because when he came down, the first thing we thought was, yo, let's go to this plantation. We had read about it, we had heard about it, and we was like, yo, we're gonna go see it for ourselves. So we went there along with my 9-year-old daughter, who was 8-year-old at the time. She was actually supposed to be at tennis, but I told her, you coming with us today. So she came, and on our ride back, maybe 15 minutes down the road, because Edgar, Louisiana is like 45 minutes outside of New Orleans. 15 minutes on the road on our way back to New Orleans, my daughter stopped us in the middle of a conversation, and she was like, Dad, now I finally understand why being a Black doctor in America is such a big deal. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking like, I'm like, okay, an 8-year-old just told me this, and we just left a plantation. I'm like, the ancestors dropped something off. Let me see what we can go ahead and get from them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See that my wife, Dr. Breon Anderson.
I know Breon. Breon, no. I know Breon.
You know Breon?
Yeah. Breon was one of the mentors in our. Yeah, I figured I was like, I think it's Dr. Breon Anderson. I'm serious, man. So the inspiration behind the photo was, this conversation. So my daughter and I had this conversation, and she was like, Dad, I finally understand why being a Black doctor in America is such a big deal. And I was like, okay, why? And she was like, well, just think about it. We just left a plantation. And there was a time when Black people couldn't be nothing but slaves. They couldn't be engineers or doctors or lawyers or, or whatever. She was like, they just had to be slaves. She was like, now think about this. I'm riding in the car with 2 of them right now. She was like, that's progress. She was like, that's progress. And I looked over at Philip and I was like, first of all, I appreciate the ancestors for dropping that off to her. But second of all, I got an idea. I was like, I got an idea, bro. I was like, I'm about to get some people together. We're going to go out there in all black in our white coat, and we're going to take this photo in front of these slave quarters, and we're going to show people that no matter what systems you put in place, we still going to get past it. Exactly. Because we built different. We built different. You know what I'm saying? And we did it, man. And I wrote an email to everybody, honestly, everybody who was black at Tulane. And we were able to get 14 other people to sign up. You know, I told them, look, this photo we're going to take is going to be iconic. It's going to go far. Because I was like, yo, you got to think about what that photo illustrates. Think about what you're looking at. You're looking at history, right? And then you're looking at the future at the same time. Exactly. And what you also looking at is how history wasn't able to thwart the future. It might have delayed it, but it didn't stop it. Right? Like we are the next set of doctors coming out. Right? The next set of black doctors, by the way, that are coming out. And history couldn't stop us from becoming physicians. History couldn't stop Dr. Anderson from becoming a physician. And these systems that were put in place to literally destroy us and use us as only property, it didn't work. You know what I'm saying? It didn't work 100%. It didn't work, and that's the whole point. You gotta take into account hundreds of years of history, and the system that was put in place to destroy us did not work. It didn't work. And that's really what people are trying to wrestle with when they're watching that, when they're looking at that photo. It's like, man, we really had a system in place to make sure that these people never came to fruition. And here they are boldly telling us, well, that didn't work out too well for you, did it? And so that's how we came up with the moniker "Resilience is in our DNA." And I'll bring some t-shirts by for you to wear. We have a t-shirt that says "Resilience is in our DNA." It's on the website somewhere. Okay. But yeah, man, that photo right there is blown up into a 2-foot by 3-foot size, and we've put it up in like over 1,000 schools in the United States. We're sending like 50 of those posters to the UK. We're sending some to Switzerland. We're sending some to North Africa in the next 2 weeks. There are some that are going to Zimbabwe, some that are going to Tanzania, some that are going to Gabon, Cote d'Ivoire. We got them going around the world, man. And all of the money that we raise from this project, we don't keep any of it. We don't profit on any of it. Every dollar that we raise goes towards scholarships for minorities who are applying to medical school, law school, dental school, farm school. And also for us to put these photos in schools. So schools can go on our website and sign up for a poster, and we mail it to them for free. And so that's what we're using all this money. That's what we're doing with all this money that we have. We're using it to cycle it back to our community, because what we realize is that if you take into account the economic history of marginalized communities, there's no way in hell you're going to sit up here and convince me that we can afford to become doctors. A lot of it ain't. Let's just be honest. True. If you take into account the money you got to have to go to undergrad, and then the money you got to have to study for the MCAT, and then the money you got to have to take the MCAT, and then the money you got to have to pay for the AMCAS, and then the money you got to have to go to these different interviews, and then the money you got to have to move to a new medical school. Bruh, the system is not set up for us to succeed. It's just not. Like, let's just be honest. And so we want to do our part to try to help out. Our ultimate goal is to pay for the medical school tuition for an entire income and class of minority students throughout the entire U.S. I think we're going to raise enough money to do that at some point. That's our ultimate goal. In the short term, my goal is to build up a high school in New Orleans to help kids to understand what they need to know in order to become doctors. Essentially, do our part in the pipeline.
Okay, that's what's up. I like that. I like to hear that. Yeah, I like to hear that. That's what's up. All right, cool. So what can you tell the people about overcoming and not giving up your dream? Because people like us, we have to go through a lot to overcome. We got more obstacles than more other people of color, I should say. So what do you give? What advice would you give someone who's in the same boat as you? People saying no, closing the door in their face. What would you tell them to do?
Yeah, man. My thought process is, man, find you some mentors, bro. You know, it's a luxury to have mentors who are akin to you. And by akin to you, I mean that they understand your culture, they understand where you're from, they understand what you got going on. But I'll be candid with you that those people aren't necessarily people, they aren't always people who look like you. Let me be honest and say that. That's a hard concept for some people to take in. But I think I always tell people to take the Malcolm X approach. By any means necessary. By any means necessary. Do what you got to do to get where you intend to go. If that means you got to work really hard for it, which the majority of the time you do, you're going to have to work really hard for it. If that means that you got to ask somebody who's really important to help you understand what you need to do, well, then you got to ask somebody who's really important what it takes in order to help you to do what you need to do. And the best part about it is that this generation has accessibility to people in a way that a lot of us growing up didn't. They have LinkedIn. You can send an email for free. You don't have to go hunting. You don't have to go hunting for their email. You don't have to go hunting for their phone number. You can follow them on Instagram. You could DM them on Instagram. You could DM them on Facebook. If you bug them enough, you'll eventually be like, okay, let me pay attention to them. Man. Like, okay, I gotta pay attention. So that's part of it. And then the other part of it is too, man. And this may sound stupid, but I always tell people you're gonna dream, right? Like you're gonna have dreams. Some of those dreams are gonna be beyond what you can imagine right now. So, for example, remember when I was 18, 19 years old, remember I woke up one night out of a sweat, a cold sweat. And I had this dream that scared the hell out of me. Because it was like me standing in front of like hundreds of thousands of people and talking. I don't remember what I was talking about, but it like scared me out of my life because I was like, God, I'm not ever gonna be prepared for this, you know. And then lo and behold, you know, maybe in February, Kelly Clarkson hit us up, right? And she like, yeah, I'm about to send y'all some plane tickets, and y'all gonna come to LA, and y'all gonna come on my set, and y'all gonna talk about what y'all doing. That's like daytime TV talking about what you're doing. And then now, right, NBC Nightly News, the Today Show, man, it's crazy. So but the thing is, but I will tell you this, even though I was scared when I woke up that night, I wrote it down. I was like, even though I'm scared, at some point I might mature into what I need to be. And I started telling some of my mentors about my dreams and stuff like that, you know, and what I was thinking was possible, and, you know, and things that nature. Even though I was scared, they were like, it'll happen. You just got to keep going. Don't quit. Don't get distracted. And that's another thing too. Figure out what the distractions are and then eliminate them. Eliminate them. Some people, to be candid, don't need social media. That sounds crazy, but some people don't need social media.
That's
because
true.
they can't handle it. They can't handle it. They don't know. They get in their feelings too soon, or you know, they so worried about other people's lives that you got to keep the main thing the main thing. And I think a goal-driven life forces you to recognize what's just benign and nonsensical and just needs to be ignored. When you really got a goal in mind, if you ever watch somebody who's like if you take trainers, I've never been able to exercise as much as trainers do. Right. But if you look at but trainers could be like at a party, you know, having a good time, and midway they'll be like, man, I need to go get my workout in. I'm gonna be back, y'all, or I'm gonna check y'all tomorrow. In the middle of a party, having a good time. I'm like, yo, that's crazy. But if you actually think about it, it's not. They got a goal in mind. I mean, I've been a med student now. I'm in my 3rd year. There have been plenty of times that I've been having a good time, and I'm like, yeah, I gotta go early. I gotta go study. And they're like, what you doing? We having a good time. And I'm like, y'all understand. This is the most important thing to me is studying. So, you know, you got to be obsessed with your goals and then go after them. And that's not necessarily something that's taught. Sometimes you got to be exposed to people who do that, but you also have to be around people who do that.
Right. Exposure is key. Exposure brings out
and
let you know what you can achieve. If they can do it, you can do it as well.
Right. I mean, you had a luxury of being around Dr. Anderson and seeing the insatiable desire you have to have in order to become board certified.
Right.
You know, it's just like crazy the amount of studying you got to do. You know, so
like it's ridiculous.
But if you want it, you're gonna go get it.
Right. No excuses.
Nah. That's the bottom line. You either gonna get it or you're not. That's it.
Okay. All right. So since you always busy, always working, getting an MBA and MD at the same time, how's your work-life balance?
Man, you know, believe it or not, man, my work-life balance is amazing, bro. I actually just made 14 years of marriage on August 5th.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. I got a 2-year-old and a 9-year-old. The thing I would tell you this much: if people always ask me how's my work-life balance, I say what you should ask is how's my work-life sleep balance. And I would tell you it's like 45, and 10 in that order. Like I just don't sleep much, but I don't neglect time with my kids, and I don't neglect work.
Okay.
I don't neglect time with my wife, and I don't neglect work. I always tell people I love loving my wife. It's like it's an action thing, right? Like love is an action thing, and the action of loving her is really fun, and I get to enjoy doing it. She's like my best friend. She's not like my best friend. She is my best friend. She's the person I clown with, talk with, you know, joke with, I get to send all my memes to her. You know, she the person who never thinks that I'm important. So it's so fun to be like, yo, honey, I got a People magazine article. And she like, so. She like, and like, what's the point? You know, I never forget. So when 15 White Coats popped off, right? And the People magazine called us. Sydney, who's my partner in the Kelly Clarkson interview, she passed off that interview with People magazine to me after they talked to her. And you know, my wife came to, because I went to go study at a Starbucks down the street from my house. And my wife came with the kids to come meet me at Starbucks for a little while, because I like to spend time with them before I go studying until you know, middle of the night to come home. But I don't want to neglect some time with them. So they Starbucks, we got some cookies and stuff like that. But before we got those cookies, I was sitting down trying to have a full-blown conversation with my wife about, we just got off the phone with People magazine and this and that. And she was like, but these kids need some hot cocoa and a cookie. And I was like, honey, did you hear what I said? She was like, did you hear what I said? She was like, the kids, she was like, because they need to go home and do their homework so that they can get to bed. And you up here playing around because you're going to be here studying all night. But see, when I leave with these kids, I got to deal with them. So can you get them their coffee and like, just like that people, like, she's like, trust me, none of that stuff going to bother me. That's you. It's like, that's you. This is us. She's like, this is us. You know, so having somebody like that around is kind of, it's funny, man, because, you know, they put you in your place real quick. You know, I told her, like, hey, honey, I got this NBC nightly show thing on her. She was like, you gonna brush your teeth first though? She's like, because you just woke up and you still ain't brushed your teeth yet. And I was like, Right, you a savage, you know.
My wife the same way, man. She be like, "You gonna comb your hair? You gonna brush your heat? Okay, you about to interview who? Oh, okay, all right. Let me know." Like people be hitting her up about, "Hey, did you see the show?" And she be like, "No." Like,
I ain't watching.
It might be her first time actually watching the show today. Because I told her I was interviewing you, and she was intrigued and interested about it. So this probably is her first time probably watching the show.
Wow. Well, she's supporting, bro. No matter what, my wife said, no matter what's going on, I'm supporting you. She was like, I gotta be supporting you. You see these kids over here, they're not bothering you when you try to study, are they? That's how I'm supporting you. You know? So it's kind of crazy, man. But it is what it is. It'll be all
right. All right. So what would you tell somebody who wants to be get in your field if they want to be a physician? On what are some of the do's and don'ts?
Don't doubt yourself, man. Or maybe I should say don't believe your doubts. Also, it is okay to be academically excellent. I think there's a stigma sometimes in our community around being really smart and being a book nerd. But it's nothing wrong with that because believe it or not, in order to become a physician, you actually have to be pretty smart. And not necessarily in a sense that you remember everything in the world, but in a sense that you are willing to study really hard. You know, that's like one of the key tenets to being able to get here. And the other thing is too, man, is get some mentors. Mentors. I cannot stress enough how critical mentors are. Mentors will give you where the bump in the road is, how to get over the bump in the road, and then how to make sure the next time a bump in the road comes, you avoid it. And those kinds of things are priceless, you know, and that's really the bottom line, you know, in terms of what it takes to get here. Mentors, exposure, and a lot of resilience, because you're gonna get a lot of no's. You're gonna get a lot of failure along the way trying to get here, and that's okay. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You know, the most important thing you do is never give up on yourself, and make sure you have some good mentors.
All right, cool. All right. So what was that moment that you knew that you feel that you made it, that you was the man? Was it on one of your TV shows?
Yeah, nah, man. I don't think I had that moment yet, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I think the reason why I say I haven't had that moment yet is because I'm still learning what I'm capable of doing. You know, I don't think I ever hit a moment where I made it because I think a lot of it is because of who my grandmother was, what she taught me about people. She always used to tell me that people are the most important entity in the world. So you always treat them right. And coming from that kind of humble background, there's no such thing as you made it. You know, my mom once asked me, you know, so when are you all, you know, gonna buy you a nice house? And it's, even though I'm in med school, we are in a position to be able to buy us a nice house. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, I don't know if I'll ever buy me a nice house. I said, because all that money I can use it to build a community center. Let's say I go buy me a $400,000 house. I was like, I honestly could have lived in a $80,000 house and took that other $70,000 and built a community center. I was like, which one you think God will be more proud of? I said, if you ever watch the life of Jesus, right? He was like the richest and the poorest person at the same time. So if you take that into account, you ain't really chasing anything physical. You chasing something that transcends time. And for me, changing the lives of young kids in communities very similar to where I came from is what I'm chasing. I'm chasing kids being able to say the reason why I'm a doctor today is because given an opportunity to learn how to suture, or learn how to take somebody's blood pressure, or learn how to check someone's pulse, or learn do an eye exam or a physical exam, or I was to learn bedside manner before I finished high school. That's the most important thing. Having a big house for what? I'm not gonna be there. Physicians work so often, they rarely home. Like, let's just be honest. I told my wife, I was like, I'm gonna tell you what we gonna get. We're gonna get an apartment. I was like, we're gonna get an apartment. I was like, and when we want to go somewhere, we just gonna travel the world. But what's the point in us getting a really big house? Like, what's the point in us getting a really big house? We could rent a big house if we having a party. I was like, but what do we need one for? I was like, we barely there. If you working, you barely home, right? Like, let's just be honest. And if I really want to be comfortable, I can get an Airbnb for $100. I don't need $370,000 worth of Airbnb. I need like $100 worth of Airbnb. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my take, man. I come from a humble background, and for me, it's just like, man, I just want to be a difference for the kids, man. I do, because I don't need. I hope there are no more stories like mine. And part of that happening is people like me climbing the economic ladder and then using that money to make my community better and influence others making our community better. Because nobody gonna come and save Black folks.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody gonna come riding in on the white horse and say, we got y'all.
Right.
We got it today. Reparations probably not coming.
Oh, it ain't coming. I don't see it coming in no time soon. People need to just get that
Let's be honest. Reparations are not coming. So we gonna have to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, although we were never given boots and never given straps.
Yes, right.
You know what I'm saying? And we gonna have to figure it out. And part of it is taking our money to build our community, taking our money to keep it in our community, and I know that's an unpopular opinion for a lot of people, but I could live with unpopular opinions. Right. As long as by the end of the day, I've accomplished what I intended to accomplish.
Okay. That's what's up. All right. So I got one last question for you. So being a man of color, have you ever dealt with any racism, any turmoil during your career?
Nah, man, I ain't never dealt with no racism. Nah, man, I ain't never dealt with racism, man. Absolutely not. That's never happened to me, bro. I'm good. I've never had anything like that happen to me. So quick story. I was in a surgery physician's lounge. I'm not gonna say what hospital I was at. Okay. But I was in the physician's lounge, and this attending, I was sitting there with my attending, and this other attending was like, man, it sure would be nice if we could go back to the 1950s. And I was like, bro, what? I'm thinking in my head, like, bro, what? But I ain't saying nothing. I just kind of made a face like, okay, let's see where this goes. This is gonna be interesting. So then Buddy goes on and he's like, the main reason why I'm saying that is because back in those days, those were the good old days. Things were much easier back then. So my attending looks at me, and at this point, I'm like, I'm about to go off on this dude. I'm about to go buck wild on this dude. My attendant's like, it probably would have been a really good time for us, but it wasn't going to be a good time for him. I could guarantee he wouldn't even be able to sit in his room in the 1950s. He was like, the guy responded, well, there were times in history that weren't good for everyone. And I was like, dog, how do you continue to justify what you just said? I was like, bruh. So my attending was like, okay, all right, let's stop this. Hey, look, man, the patient's ready for surgery. Let's go scrub in.
Right.
And And I was like, thank God, dog. You know, thank God. But if you think about it, bruh, to be honest with you, bruh, that was less than 5 weeks ago. You do the math where I was at. That was less than 5 weeks ago. That was a couple weeks ago, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, hey,
Right.
I ain't saying where I was at. I'm saying how long ago it was. So, you know, if you listen to the whole show today, you know where I was at.
All right.
So, you know, that's
right.
what it is, man.
That's a very interesting story. Yeah, it happens a lot. I deal with a lot at work and other places as well. I've heard stories like that and comments. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Okay. My wife even told me some crazy stories as well in similar fashion, same arena. They just be saying things like, wow, crazy. Anyway. All right, man. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate you. Let the people know your social media handles, how they get in contact with you and the 15 White Coats.
Yeah, man. So my personal media handles are at the guy with yes. That's a very personal meaning to me. And if you DM me, I'll let you know what it means. That's on Instagram and Twitter and on Facebook. You can just look at my name, Russell Ledet. And then for the 15 White Coats, no matter what platform you go on, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, it's the 15 White Coats. The 15 White Coats. That's it. That's
All
us.
right. All right, y'all. Thank you for coming on the show, Mr. Ledet. I'm sorry, Dr. Ledet. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I got to say that, you know, because I know how much work y'all put in for that. Make sure y'all follow, subscribe, like, share this episode, get the message out. This is the reason why I created this platform, so you get people like you could tell your story, and so it can inspire others in the next generation. All right. Also, I want to give a big ups to my wife for watching the show for the first time. Thank you, honey. I love you. Like I always tell everybody, you are the best decision I ever made. Thank you. Thank you for saying yes. All right. So y'all enjoy the rest of y'all night. We out. Any last words, doctor?
Nah, man. Y'all have a good evening, bro. I'm going to sleep.
Yeah, you do.
I'm going to sleep, brother. Y'all have a good night, man.
All right, we out, y'all.
All right, later.